What if there's one thing in your body that is silently working against you whenever you try to get rid of knee pain? And as long as this one part is holding you back, not even the very best exercises and treatments may work. Research has identified this problem as a barrier to recovery that has a strong correlation with pain and function. They also found that it's one of the reasons for a person not returning to their pre-injury activity level, and that removing this problem was the strongest predictor of rehab success. Let's see if this applies to you, and if so, what you can do about it. If you look through the research on knee pain, you'll of course come across strengthening exercises, stretches, or trials that examined adjunct treatments such as hyaluronic acid or shockwave therapy. What I didn't expect though were papers on the connection between a person's beliefs about pain and their odds of rehab success. We know that people react differently to pain. Some have an exceptionally high pain tolerance and can just push through. Others, like me, will be more, shall we say, careful with their reaction to pain. But when it comes to rehab success, it's not pain tolerance that matters, but your beliefs about pain and how those beliefs change your behavior. And this can start with something as innocent as pain avoidance. Now, pain is a signal the body uses to tell us that something is wrong. Maybe you sprained your ankle, got stung by a bee, or maybe you cut yourself preparing dinner. The response usually is to rest the injured body part until it is healed to the point where it can be loaded again. But what if you're dealing with a chronic injury and you've somehow convinced yourself that every time you feel pain, you're making it worse by causing more damage in the joint? And this belief, combined with the pain, can cause fear of movement or kinesiophobia. And this fear of movement has been linked to altered gait, higher pain levels, reduced function, reduced physical activity, and a lower quality of life. And the irony is that fear of movement due to pain can lead to a self-reinforcing cycle by reducing strength, function, and load tolerance, which eventually leads to more pain. And you can see how a person can get stuck in this loop. It hurts, so they do less, and then it hurts even more because the body has gotten weaker. It's another example for why complete rest rarely is a good idea. We'll cover what you can do about kinesiophobia in a moment, but first I need to introduce you to its ugly sibling, pain catastrophizing. Now, dealing with knee pain can be a super frustrating process. Imagine having pain, getting examined, paying $1,000 or more for an MRI, only to be sent home with no certain diagnosis, or worse, something like, the structures in your knee look age appropriate. In a situation like that, you may not be in the best of spirits, but you have to be very careful with hyper-focusing on the pain and letting your current situation influence your thinking about the future, because that's when you can slip into pain catastrophizing. See how often you answer yes to these questions. Do you constantly think about the pain and can't seem to get it out of your mind? Do you keep thinking about how badly you want the pain to stop? Are you anxious to find a solution? Are you afraid that the pain may get worse? Do you think there is nothing you can do? Are you afraid that it may never get better? You can see how the combination of pain avoidance and pain catastrophizing can stir up a perfect storm to make knee pain last ages. A person with all those thoughts swirling around in their head may even give up without a fight. Now, here's an example from my life to show how this may play out. About 3 months ago, I did some exercises and I heard a noise in my knee you never want to hear during training. A few days later, I noticed significant swelling around my kneecap. One visit to an orthopedist and an MRI later, I found out that I had a grade 4 lesion in the posterior horn of my medial meniscus. And in the days that followed, I found myself thinking about the injury all around the clock, from the moment I woke up in the morning right to when I went to bed. And I started digging into the research about these types of meniscus tears, which is where I was confronted with all sorts of bad news. The paper said that symptoms may last up to 6 months, maybe even a year, and that in those that have it, risk of osteoarthritis of the knee increases significantly. And these thoughts got stuck on repeat in my head, and I already saw myself canceling the family vacation we had planned for the following month, instead getting surgery. So I was doing a lot of what we just talked about. I avoided movement for fear of causing longer rehab time. I thought about the injury constantly. I was afraid that it would get much worse, and given that the meniscus is a structure with little to no self-healing capacity, I didn't see anything I could do to make it better. And that's a dangerous place to be in mentally, because you may unintentionally make mistakes that add weeks, maybe even months to your recovery time. Here are 6 solutions you can use to make sure that doesn't happen to you. Solution 1 is to get help. And this may seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people try to find all the answers on their own. So go talk to a doctor and get physical therapy if necessary. Beyond this, get support from your friends and family or look online to get in touch with other people that have dealt with your problem. When I went back to the orthopedist and told him about my concerns, he calmly explained to me that while he loved performing surgeries, I had no clinical symptoms indicating a need for one, and that with a few weeks of taking it easy, the knee would likely be okay. And this 10-minute conversation already made me feel infinitely better and optimistic about the future. Next up, try to learn as much as you can about the injury, because the less it is veiled in mystery, the less intimidating it will be. For example, research has repeatedly proven that just because an MRI shows a pathology doesn't mean it will cause pain. Plus, if there is pain, it rarely means that you're causing tissue damage unless you're loading the joint explosively or doing other high-load, high-force movements. In contrast, walking and slow training with adequate resistance are safe forms of exercise in almost all situations. Aside from learning about the injury, you also have to keep a positive attitude. And if you find it difficult to get rid of negative thoughts, realize that just because your brain presents you with a thought doesn't mean you have to accept it as true. For example, in optical illusions, the brain will tell you outright lies that are difficult to expose and to understand, even if you know the truth. And one way to disarm negative thoughts is to put them into the same category as optical illusions. They're not the truth, they're just mistakes made by the brain. The truth is that the body is crazy resilient and can bounce back from all sorts of injuries and illnesses. So have faith in your body's ability to heal. Yeah, sure, your current situation may suck, but it will get better. Also, it's probably not the first time in your life something bad has happened to you, but guess what? You're still here. And just like you managed to get through those bad situations in the past, you're going to get through this as well. And to make this happen, you have to take control of your situation in whatever shape or form you can. Don't be passive. Stop telling yourself, oh, there's nothing I can do, and instead focus your attention on finding answers to the problems you're facing. A wise man once said, your focus determines your reality. And it's true. If you focus on the problems, they will appear bigger. And if you instead focus on finding answers, you will find those too. After all, just because life is pushing you into a certain direction doesn't mean you can't push back. And if you get frustrated during this process, or if you get tired, instead of giving up, don't think about the problem for a while. Distract yourself. Watch a new TV show, read a book, hang out with friends, do whatever you can to shift your focus away from the problem. Find a way to have some fun. Your body will relax, which, as it turns out, is much better for healing than being stressed and upset. And finally, the last and probably most effective solution is to move in whatever way you can. If you can't yet jump, find a way to enjoy sports without jumping. If you can't yet run, walk or cycle. It doesn't matter if you walk slowly as long as you move. Don't focus on what you cannot do, but find things that you can do. This will also help you gain more confidence in your body. I used those exact same methods to deal with my meniscus issue, and here's what happened. 3 weeks after my last talk with the doctor, I was already playing beach volleyball again, but without jumping and without explosive movements, so pretty much just standing around and gentle walking. But it was still fun. And another 4 weeks later, I was back to light jumping and easy running. Here's some shots of my 8-year-old son and I playing against my dad and my uncle. Now think about this. In March, I was stressing myself out, worrying about surgery and arthritis now. And fast forward 2 months and I'm back on the court playing almost normally again. In fact, this whole thing may help me become an even better player by forcing me to focus on technique instead of relying mostly on athleticism. Now, of course, your story is different, but based on everything I know, I'm convinced that once you find the right strengthening approach for your situation, you will get better. And if you haven't found it yet, you have to keep looking. The alternative is giving up, and that's really no alternative at all. If you found this video useful, be sure to hit the like button and to leave a comment below. It helps YouTube get this info to those that need it. Also, if you know another method to keep yourself motivated and positive, please share it in the comments as well. I'd love to hear about it. That's it for now, and I will see you in another video.